a bad economic period beginning in 2008. It's been called the Great Recession, but I've been through the Great Depression of 1929. I was 11 years old at the time of the crash in October 1929. But I soon realized that there was a change in our lifestyle, and in fact, changes in the entire community of Aliquippa where we lived. The first thing I noticed was that workmen no longer drove to the mill because the mill, Jones and Laughlin Steel Corporation, was closed down. And as there was no work, the men had no money. Their charge accounts at the company store soon ran out, but they had to have food. And so with the company, Joan and Laughlin, the following was worked out. Men were given tools, hoes and rakes, and seeds for vegetables. And I could see them walking out Franklin Avenue, far out to the edge of town, where Jones and Laughlin had set aside plots of land for them so they could plant the seeds and nourish them and feed them whatever needed, and they could grow vegetables to help them. Our family had a change in the way it got its vegetables. Mother used to go into the local grocery store 2 doors away from the shoe store. After the shoe store would close, she would go in and buy whatever groceries she needed, and then we would take them home for supper and for whatever meals we needed. But that all changed because money was hard to come by. Men were not buying shoes, women were not buying shoes. So instead, on an evening, I can remember the family would pile in to the family touring car and go out into the countryside, drive down country lanes to see where signs said vegetables for sale. And we would stop and go in to see what the farmers were offering. I can remember Dad saying, corn is cheap, 10 cents an ear. We would buy what we needed, and we would buy tomatoes, peas, beans, whatever vegetables were available, take them back in and store them in the ice box that we had for the future. We would buy in bulk if possible, principally apples. I liked apples. Dad liked apples. Mother liked to make applesauce. We would buy a bushel of apples. I can remember helping Dad lug it down the cellar stairs and leave it there. The cellar was cool, so there was little chance that the apples would rot. And we would go down to the cellar to get an apple. I would get an apple every morning and eat it on the way to school. I would eat an apple in the evening when I was doing homework or listening to music. Another important feature of change was that when my shoes wore out, I didn't go to the shoe store and say, I need a new pair of shoes. To get shoes from the shoe store, the family had to buy it because Dad and Uncle Morris were partners, and we just couldn't go in and take whatever shoes we needed. So out of that, I found out that when my shoes became run down, I had to take my shoes to the shoemaker around the corner from the shoe store and tell him half sole them, and occasionally if the heels were run down, he could replace the heels. The result was that when the cobbler put on the half sole, the shoes became smaller because he was pulling in the tops to fit the new bottoms. So I was wearing shoes that pinched me. I didn't complain. I didn't complain about much, and that was another thing that I avoided mentioning. As a result of that, I've got bunions and hammer toes and other problems as a result of the Great Recession or the Great Repression. All in all, it was a lesson in my taking care of the pennies, and I still have the recession, depression mentality, spending as little as I need so that I will always have enough for tomorrow.